All right, all right, all right. We're live for another episode of Making It Rain here with my esteemed colleague, the man with the shiny head and the full facial hair, the beard that would embarrass Thor, Joe Paterino. How is it going?
It's a hell of an intro. That could be the best one you've given me all season. Saving it for the end.
Hey, this is just the beginning of the
That's
road.
true. It's true.
End of this year's journey, but beginning of the road. I felt like I needed to get a little bit more creative, and that was off the dome. That wasn't even scripted, so it's only going to get better from now on, and they're probably going to get a lot weirder. And I think maybe you need to have like you give me like a score for each introduction. You know, like almost like I'm making a joke, and we can do maybe like a score.
I like it.
Something for next season.
Yeah.
But how you doing, buddy?
Good. No, it's been
a whopping 2 days.
It's been
3 days. 3 days, yeah.
I was gonna say, has it been that long? Yeah, no, it's been good, but it's been a bit since we've talked, since we've done Making It Rain. I mean, we missed the entire series, right? We waited until after the series was over. Pretty disappointing, which we'll get into. But no, week's been pretty good. How about you?
Not bad, man. Just trying to sell cars. Got the girl coming out this weekend. We'll be doing a little grilling, so it should be pretty good, man. Just gotta try to make some money. Get my camera set. Trying to make some money there, so that way, I can actually buy a desk and have a nice background and stuff like that. It was funny. Me and the guy that I do the Niners podcast with, he has a map in his background too, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're part of the Illuminati together," Like, I was like, I wish I had a superpower like that.
Oh, nice.
But as we're in the middle of the second round and everything is going good, and but unfortunately both the Kings are out, and we're going to be talking about today on the show. We're going to be talking about surgery between the pipes. The Eagles fly above the series there, the World Championships, season awards, and future Kings. And so we got a lot of stuff going here. Let's get it started.
Nobody there for Tucson. Ring will take it away with speed up the right wing side. Velarde tripped up, centered for Fagimo to the left circle. A shot. Score! In his first game of the year. Guess who? Lias Anderson makes it 3-2 with 1:56 to go.
I've been begging Russell to get me a new intro because Lias Anderson was on the Reign for like a day and a half. So maybe if I call him out publicly in front of the couple people watching right now, the public pressure will get so much to where.
Well, in fairness,
change.
Lias Anderson had like 6 goals in that game and a half. So
probably had the highest goal per game ratio of anybody on the roster all season long, including MVP TJ Tynan. So
let's enjoy it while we can.
All right. So some bad news, but hopefully. Not really bad news, but maybe a little bit of both. Surgery between the pipes. Ryan, esteemed colleague here for us at Hockey Royalty, wrote an article about Jacob Ingham having a successful surgery. He posted something on Instagram about his knee. I didn't know the play or the precise game, and there was no really in-depth article from him or notes from him about what was done, whether it was a scope, whether it was ACL. I don't know if you found anything, but there was a small wrap, and he was in a wheelchair, which they always wheel you out of surgery. So it could be something small, could be something big. I didn't really see anything other than that. But from the array of what it could be, if it's just a scope, he should be ready for next season. If it's an ACL, that's a whole season off for Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Hopefully for him, whatever it was that was, ailing him is obviously now fixed and taken care of. He can get on that road to recovery. He was a part of a number of young goaltenders that were, in net for the Reign. I think, and I alluded to it in the
Swamp Rabbits losing a great one.
It's exactly alluded to it in the article that I did with Ryan Sykes about free agents that are potentially, are they coming back? Are they not going to be re-signed? And I made a note with Garrett Sparks as a free agent. I said, he was brought in to be that veteran backup, but Ingham was a part of a crop of like 4 or 5 young goaltenders, including Villalta, that were around and got time. And Villalta's now had at least parts of 3 seasons now in the AHL. He's into his mid-20s. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a need for that veteran backup. I think Villalta's kind of that veteran now. I think he's kind of earned those stripes.
Hrenek's like 23, right? Or 24?
Right. So then you've got these younger kids. So you've got Hrenek, you've got Parikh, you've got Ingham, so
maybe Hugo Markkinen gets brought over. I think
Hey.
he'll probably stay in Finland as long as they can keep him there. But
so we'll see what happens if Ingham's in the mix next year. I liked a little bit of what he did when he showed pretty good, but it's tough. He only played 5 games in Ontario, so it's tough to get a great read. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully he heals up quickly.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. So moving on to here, the long topic here, Eagles fly above, and we wish that they were on the ground in the rain. We're moving on. But this was not even a close series. Not even close. I mean, as the score in the second game was, but I thought that the Eagles pretty much dominated from front to end in this bad boy.
Yeah, and even that second game, like it took a pretty miraculous comeback, 2 goals in the final 3.5 minutes or so to tie that game, just to send it to overtime. And it was a little unlucky. The Reign, they did put some shots on in overtime. They didn't have a bad overtime, and the goal that went in just snuck through Sparks, and then it goes off his skate. It was swept off the line by, I think it was Molandon, but it just crossed the goal line just in time. So it was, it's disappointing. Like, we talked about how good Colorado was, so it wasn't a surprise to see them advance or beat the Reign, but there's no question it's disappointing. Like, I know it is a tough building in Colorado, is probably one of the toughest buildings in the AHL, but to go down 6 goals in the first period in that opening game, I mean, that's just really disappointing. Yeah, honestly,
I was disappointed about the game 6 and 7 for the Kings, but like to show up that poorly, like, and just get spanked, like, was unacceptable.
Yeah, it was. No, it was. I'm sure to a man they would probably admit the same thing. That said, it was 6-1, I believe, after the first period. But the Reign had it's going to sound crazy and maybe even sound homerism, but like, the game is pretty much over, right? Until there's a 5-minute major, and they had a 5-minute major power play at the start of the second period. It's like,
it was 3-1, and then they scored 3 more, so 6-1 after the first.
Yeah, and then there was a early in the period, 3 minutes into the period, second period, Kiefer Sherwood, which he ended up getting suspended for too.
Yeah,
it's a bad hit. 5-minute power play. Listen, the Reign popped 2 quick ones on a 5-minute major, which they have the best power play in history in the AHL. So certainly, more than likely, all of a sudden you got yourself a 6-3 game, and you're back in it, and not even close. And credit, I'll say this though, credit to Justus Annunen, played really, really well, I thought, in goal for Colorado. He answered the bell. He had a pretty good series. I thought he played well. Just really, really disappointing start to that. And then they come out in game 2 and they go down again, another power play goal. They really struggled in special teams this series. It's a good team. Colorado's a really good team. I thought, and going to game 3, and it seemed like, and it felt like there just wasn't the same push. Your backs are against the wall. You're facing elimination. You're at home. But
and you get outshot 13-8 in the first period.
Yeah, and it just there wasn't that jump. There wasn't that get after it like I fully expected from the Reign. And for whatever reason, it is what it is.
Were you upset that they flew Villalta back and he suited up, but they didn't fly anybody else back to be sent down?
No.
I was like, why not? Like, Byfield hasn't played in a week. Velarde hadn't played. Spence hasn't played. Like, they're fresh. Like, that you could have sent them on the same plane as Villalta, and they would, like, Kupari is the only one that played the night before. So even if you have those 3 guys, your team is vastly better.
Yeah, I'm assuming, and I don't know this, and I don't know that it's been talked about. If it has been, then I missed it. But they probably just said, you know what, we've played these 4 playoff games to date with this group. We got to, those guys haven't been with us for weeks now on end, sometimes maybe even a little bit longer. We're going to go with what we got. And then maybe my sense is,
let's go without the first team all-star on the power play. Let's go without the number 2 overall pick, and let's go out with Velarde.
But my guess is maybe they would have reevaluated.
My BS meter is at an all-time high with you, Joe, right now. Because
I wasn't that surprised because I don't know the logistics of that and that quick turnaround. Like I do know, like you said, they flew Villalta back. You would think maybe they could, but it's probably not that easy. So I wasn't surprised. I think it would have been nice, but then at the same time, you're throwing a handful of guys into the mix,
You
and
know what?
you could be messing some things up there too.
I heard that in the playoffs you only get three call ups, and because nobody was injured, Villalta would have been one of the call ups. So, but although then the Edmonton series is over, there's no reason to call anybody else up. So that would have been.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way, I won't say it wouldn't have made a difference, but there was just flat. It was a flat game 3. Furt gets the goal late in the second, I think it was, to kind of get them, on the board.
Late in the second,
sort of
very
back
late with 15 seconds left. Furk from Vladimir Tkachev.
Yeah,
Tkachev had 4 assists in the playoffs with how badly they played. Like I know you did the. I didn't actually get it to read the article yet. I've been working. Sorry, but I mean I know it's masterful work probably. But what did you guys say for Vladimir Tkachev?
I said that they would not retain him. I thought that I said, listen, he was a productive player when he was on the ice for the Reign, particularly on the power play. His 5-on-5 game, he didn't necessarily dominate or excel at 5-on-5 in the AHL, but he was a productive player when he was on the ice. He battled some injuries, but it was pretty clear that the Kings had no interest in bringing him back up. He was down early and never even close to coming back up. And I think it was worth the 1-year gamble. And this is what I wrote. I said the 1-year gamble was worth it for a team in transition, but you get the sense that they'll part ways. That was my prediction that they'll just part ways. Tkachev will look elsewhere. And we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe he'll stick and stick around. But I'm not sure why he would. There's not a path for him. He's not going to play with the Kings, so I don't think he would. He's
got to play on a team that needs people.
Right.
That's not in transition, right? Like an Arizona or a Seattle, a Montreal that needs. What a team that might need him? That needs younger players that are cheap. San Jose.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think that's the route, and he can either do that because I think, and again, I don't know Vladimir Tkachev. I never spoke with him, but I figure like this was.
I hope to. So Vladimir, if you're listening,
my guess is this was an opportunity for him to showcase himself once again. It didn't quite work. He was sent down early and never got the shot back. So if I'm him, I mean, my thought is, again, this is me spitballing, that he just may very well go back to Russia. He could probably make a lot more money. Unless there's somebody that's knocking at the door, like you said, a team that's not necessarily in that transition that's willing to give him a look. And if that's the case, then maybe he sticks around, but I just don't see it with the Kings. So I predicted that he would not be back.
Everybody in the chat, feel free to ask us questions, just like in the Kings end of season. If you guys want to ask questions for us, me and Joe, whether it be Reign or Kings, we're willing to answer all your questions here. So throw them in the chat. We'll get to them towards the end of the podcast here. So up next is the World Championship. So far, the Reign have 3 players that are in the World Championships, or the Kings and Reign do. Carl Grundstrom, playing for Team Sweden. TJ Tynan got the nod for Team USA, played against Great Britain. I didn't look up the stat line for his game today. And Kassestool, our main man, Cass, playing for Norway.
Love it.
What
do
you think, man? Like, that's awesome.
He's good for him. I mean, I think he's played for Norway in the past at the international level. But listen, I give a kid like that a lot of credit. He was signed to an ATO, I think it was in January, right? And then, but he stuck. Like, there was a lot of guys that were in and out on PTOs.
He was a barnacle, man. He was just held on and stayed.
Yeah, and he stuck around and he filled a role. And I think back to the game where they were just severely shorthanded, right? And he played forward. Like, they moved him up to the wing. So I give him credit. He was a fun player to watch. He got his nose dirty. He was the first one in a scrum to stick up for his teammates on a guy that it's not like he's I don't want to say that's not fair to say he's not a Reign player. He was a Reign player, but you know what I mean? Like, not part of the organization, so to speak. So it was, I liked him a lot, I mean, for what he brought, and I wish him nothing but the best. Hopefully he does well over in World Championships. But that's, and listen, I think it's awesome for Tyne, a little stick taps to him after off another freaking awesome season. I hope he has, I hope he plays well over there and gets a shot and plays well. So that'd be great.
So like I think that you look at Tynan is somebody that everybody's like, okay, Moore was C1 last year, and now the team is a little bit more built. Where does Tynan fit in? I'm not so sure, but for him, you're thinking, okay, he has no chance to make the Olympic squad when everything's not COVID ridden. And so like this could be his only chance to play for Team USA on a really big level, and good for him. Like, I mean,
absolutely,
you take advantage of the opportunity. You're looking at Grunstrom. I hope he takes the T Moore jump, right? T Moore came in, played, got more attention in the offseason, and came back with a vengeance. And I know the tweet that Ryan put out, Ryan Sykes, the fearless leader, comparing Brownie's season to Grunstrom's season at the same age. And Grunstrom had better numbers. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to end up being Dustin Brown by any means, because that's a very tough ask for Tonka. But the fact that he didn't let being scratched for weeks on end bother him. The fact that he didn't let being sent down, called back up in the previous season bother him, and showed up in the playoffs and got moved up to significant minutes. I hope he builds on that and really takes control of that, because we will be missing physicality next season if they don't re-sign Lemieux and without Dustin Brown. So he will have to bring that, and he's not afraid to. That's why they call him the Tonka truck.
He's been a guy that I didn't know where I landed with him. But every time, and you just alluded to it, every time he was out of the lineup for a while, he would come back in and he would make an impact, whether that was physical or whether he chipped in too, right? And then he had a strong playoff showing. Like, the way I look at Grunstrom, at least right now, is, for me, he's a really, really good, like, I'm envisioning him as like that 12th forward. He's on your fourth line. Maybe he's in and out of the lineup, depending on what happens. Obviously, we got a whole offseason to go, but something along those lines but like very easily could see him crack into that third line and never leave it, right? And just be that maybe evolve to like that middle six type of winger, or at least a guy that, if somebody goes down hurt, he can spot up and we can play top 6 minutes for, a game or two, right? If you need him in a pinch. So he's kind of turning into like a versatile winger that can do a little bit of both. If he can continue to add that offense to his game, I mean, I think it's been a heck of a season for him. And you mentioned Ryan Sykes. He wrote an article, I think it was Ryan, so I hope it was him. I'm giving him the credit, but that about how he is deserving of a contract. So, it's hard not to agree with that.
James Mick comes in here. Can I get my $30 back for the HLTV? Just kidding. Good vibes. I feel the same way.
I feel
what was HLTV doing there? Like charging you extra for the playoffs? Isn't this supposed to be like a full thing here? Like, what's going on? Teresa is asking us a question about the team here. Is Ferk moving on? So Teresa, I could say go ahead and read the article and push it along, but I want to give you the in-depth answer here from the guy that wrote it. So what did you guys think about Ferk, and what do you envision from him?
So it's tough because I think he's really evolved into like a fan favorite for the Reign. And I think the organization, I think a lot of fans have a soft spot for him in the organization. I get chills just right now talking about the goal he scored against Florida late in that game in the end when he was called up to the NHL. I love seeing him succeed. That
goal was on the top 10 goals list from Hockey Royalty. Go to
yes,
YouTube,
it was.
Check it out.
Check that out. Great video Russell put together. That said, it's hard. It is a little hard to believe that there isn't an NHL team from an NHL roster spot for Martin Ferk. I gotta think that there's somewhere out there where, with the way he shoots the puck, he's by no means any sort of like liability. He at least will give you an effort, even if he does struggle at times defensively in the NHL. He didn't really in the AHL, but in the NHL, he at least is going to give you an effort. My guess is if there's an opportunity to potentially play in the NHL, he will go as a free agent this offseason. I am not expecting expecting him back.
Do you
We'll see
think
what
a team down the 5 freeway in Anaheim who is more free wheeling with their offense and their power play with Zagris and Drysdale would use a player like Furk? Because they're in the hybrid stage. They're trying to get over the hump. Not all their prospects are ready like ours was 2 years ago. Do you think that could be a fit where he could be a power play specialist for them and get third line minutes? Or do you think it's going to have to be a similar situation to Kachev where it's going to be a bottom feeder team that he's clearly a top 9 player on?
Furk probably has a better fit with maybe a team that's a little bit more middle of the pack, if you will, trying to see if they can get over a certain hump, and he's there
And
to
that's
like
the piece they're missing. Yeah.
or not even missing, but they can be like a stopgap to like buy them some time for their prospects, whatever team that might be. But he can give you an honest effort. He can play bottom 6 and he can play PP. Like I don't know. I mean, and I was kind of harsh, I think, on Furk going into the season. Like I just didn't see where his fit was, and there wasn't a fit for him with LA. But guys, he scored 40 goals, and I mean, he's been in the NHL before. It's not like I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some.
He's not TJ Tynan. Like he's had more games in the NHL than TJ.
Yeah. I think there's a team that could give him a look. So that my prediction is he will go because there just may be a better opportunity at the NHL level, and I just don't see it with the Kings. So I think he might want one more shot at trying to crack a lineup.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that 109 slapper of his.
You're not kidding.
Yeah, let's send it over to our sponsors here for the Hockey Podcast Network and DraftKings. Let me read this here for you. Hockey fans, the pursuit of the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, unofficial sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoff in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets, no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It is your shot at even a bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets, no matter what. That's code THPN. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Those parlays are pretty cool. I've been seeing a lot of those that DraftKings is putting out. Unfortunately, in my state, I can't bet. And so, but they're like, it's like a goal here or this person, over a point and then a win or over and under on the score. So you can get some pretty good parlays going, bet $10 to win, $200 if you get really freaky with it, or you can, it's pretty cool. I like that they're doing parlays for the same game.
They can be fun. It's always fun when you have a three-teamer or three-piece parlay. The first 2 win easily, and then naturally the last one loses. That's just how it goes. But it's always.
I like that they're doing it all in the same game too.
Yeah, the same game parlays are nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, okay, well, this guy needs to score a goal. This guy needs to get an assist, and my team needs to win. I think that's pretty cool. Like, so like you have extra to root for.
Yep.
Or you don't care who wins and you just want to make money. Either one. Let's go to season awards here.
Different type of sweat.
Yeah.
Different type of sweat.
Let's go to season awards here. Let's start off with, rookie of the year or, a first-year player for the Reign. I think this is the easy answer for both of us. So we might just be, hammering over Jordan Spence here. But first team All-Star, first year. Nobody thought, like T-Mac said, nobody thought that he was going to even be playing in the NHL, and he's playing in big minutes. Missed like the last 2 months of the season and still got first team honors. I think for me, it's Jordan Spence for the number one rookie.
I don't know that it's much of a discussion. I know there were some other young guys that were rookies or technically rookies, and Helge Grans had a really good showing too in his first.
That would be the only one, and the other one that I would, yeah.
It wasn't close. Jordan Spence, what a season. Full marks to him. He dominates the power play once Jersey gets called up. Great chemistry he had with all those guys. And then he gets a shot in the NHL. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody. Not this year.
No.
Good on him. And just to say, like, I know everybody talks about the right side. Like, I think he's coming back. Like, I think expect him to start in Ontario next year. I know he was called up, and even if Troy Stetcher's not there, depending on what happened with Walker, I still think Jordan Spence is going to be a member of the Ontario Reign next year, and it's not a bad thing. He's still very, very young
and battling.
Yep.
Battle it out in camp.
Yep.
That's going to be good for him because not that he was given this, but injuries led him to the opportunity. And Campbell
and his play, like in fairness, because if he wasn't playing
but even with his play, if there's no injuries, he doesn't have a chance.
Right. But if he's not playing well, he's not going up.
Yeah.
They didn't call up Helge Grans.
Oh man, the Swede. We can't get enough Swedes. And so I'm thinking that the camp is going to be good for the right side of the defense. One, I think it's going to be the clear article writing grab for most Kings fans, like what's going to happen to the right side. But I think the battle is going to be worth it. Because I don't think if Walker doesn't get traded, I don't think he's for sure even has a spot. Like if Clark plays really well, if Spence comes to camp really well, you got Helge Grans as the dark horse because that size that we talked about in the Kings ender. I think the right side is going to be very interesting. But well deserved. Helge Grans probably my second choice there. Am I missing any forwards that could have been?
Yeah, so Tyler Madden is technically a rookie this year. If you want to,
because he got injured early,
yeah, but he did miss a lot of time, and so I wouldn't include this player because he only played 16 games, but he had 10 points in those 16 games. Taylor Ward looked good. I was impressed with Taylor Ward down the stretch. Again, 16 games. I'm not going to say he was the rookie of the year, but I'm just going to give him a nod here while we're talking about rookies. Like I was very impressed with his game. Really, really heady player, good without the puck, and good release. Like I liked his game.
Not afraid to throw them bones either.
No, he's not.
I like it. All right, let's go defensive player of the year. It might be the same person, but I want to give a nod to some guys that weren't rookies that were good defensemen, because defensive player of the year for me would be Jordan Spence as well. But Cameron Gaunce.
Yeah.
Cameron Gaunce has been steady, not very well talked about, but I think the leadership you've noticed from Jared Shaffrin with a lot of his coverage, and like the teammates have mentioned him, the broadcasters mentioned him, and his play has just been steady. And you look at like a player like Mikey Anderson for the Kings, not noticed much on offense, but noticed steadily on defense, not afraid to use his size. I think Cameron Gaunce, as far as from an underrated defenseman standpoint, played a huge role for this team this year.
For sure. And you know what else he did? He's fantastic on the mic.
Yeah.
Good God. He was interviewed, the Jared and Josh interviewed him. I think it was the last game of the season, Henderson. They had him on intermission. Outstanding. I mean, a wealth of knowledge and well-spoken. Like he's got a future in broadcasting, no question. I like the shout, and I think you're right. Like Jordan Spence would probably be the pick here. I'm actually going to go a little off the board. I'm getting the sense I'm maybe a bigger fan than most of this player, but just for what he brings from an organizational depth standpoint and where you can plug him anywhere. And he can play left side, he can play right side, he can play top pair, he can play third play. You need him to play power play, he can do it. Christian Molandon. Like I thought he was a really solid, under the radar puck mover. Was called he was with the team, he was waived, picked up by Buffalo. Waived. The Kings bring him back, and he plays a role.
Yeah, he got some wings and some ranch over there for a little bit and came back. Yeah,
and he plays a role. Like he played in the NHL, he played in the AHL. Like a guy like that who kind of bounced around a bit, went across the country. I don't know. Yes, Jordan Spence is the answer here. I think, right, but again, in the same vein as talking about rookies, I'm just throwing out there that I really, really liked Christian Molandon, and he's a free agent that I wrote in the piece. I don't know how likely this is, but I think he's a solid seventh defenseman, organizational depth guy for the Kings. I think he's a good guy to have.
You're going to be banging Mervari's name though all off season. I know that. I'm going to have to unmute you a couple times.
More on him.
So. Ranch or blue cheese? You're near Buffalo. Ranch or blue cheese?
I am the wrong person to ask about anything food wise, particularly condiments. I don't eat either of those.
So you just eat wings by themselves?
Yep.
Savage you are.
I'll give me, garlic
So
parm sauce.
it's a little garlic parm.
That's my
See, I do a
preference.
spicy and like a neutral. Like I do like a mango habanero and a lemon pepper.
None of that.
I get that high and that low.
No.
I want my
No.
mouth to tingle, and then I'm like, ooh, I need some relief.
It took me a while. My wife likes hot wings. And
Like
so
hot.
not hot, but for me, like I'm not a spicy guy. So for me, I get a little sweat up here. So it's just enough. But
to bring out your handkerchief and just
I've grown to like them.
Yeah.
But that's as crazy as I get. I'm bored. I'm not a big wing guy, which is kind of weird this side of the country. But
well, Joe just got deported, and
hey, I'm Italian. We're much more the rigatoni, the sauce, the pasta, and the pizza, less so the wings.
Yeah, I hear you there. So was it you like? I know we're getting sidetracked for our fans here, but
That's all right.
So was it you and your wife started dating? Were you like eating the hot wings, like, oh yeah, babe, like this is great, and then like trying to impress her, and then, by the way, I have to take 3 Pepsi AC just to go on a date with you because you like all this hot stuff.
So when we would order pizza, it just became, you want to get like a small thing of wings, and she asked what I like. I said I'm not really like either garlic parm or like mild, and she liked hot. So for a little while, we were just ordering hot for her, and I would get the garlic parm. And then after a while, like she only eats a couple, so I'm getting stuck eating them anyways for leftovers. So then I just said, well, screw it, we'll just get the hot.
Hey, me and my girl like the spicy stuff. That's good. This reminds me of the thing, and it's so funny, and this is a good funny story. So I was over at my friend's house one time, and I get there, and there's all these like half, drinks on the counter, and I'm like, what is going on here? And he goes, it's my girl. And I go, what are you talking about? She's like, I go to Starbucks, I get her a nice drink, she comes back, she drinks 2 sips, and like half of it stays, and then she's like, I'm thirsty. Like, well, you have a coffee right there, and there's like 10 drinks on the table. I was like, man, like what is going on here?
Yeah, at Starbucks at $8 a pop.
Yeah, so you had $1.52 sips. Oh man! All right, outside
of the rain won, we wouldn't be doing this, right? We
Hey, but this is people want to know us, right? Right. People want to know us a little bit. We're a little comedy in here. I'm feeling good. I'm having a good weekend, to be honest. So MVP is obviously TJ Tynan. So let's go MVP outside of TJ. I'll let you go first. I know I didn't really. This is kind of off the cuff question here because we both were going to go TJ and then bow and sacrifice chickens to him because he's the lord of the AHL. But
you're obviously you're right about that. So I am going to say, and so it actually works out kind of both ways because I have this guy as my most improved player. So I'm just going to lump my two into one. It's Jared Anderson Dolan.
Nice.
I think he had a really, really big season for the Reign. He was I think 3rd in points actually behind only Tynan and Ferk. He was excellent both ends of the ice. He played all situations. He played power play. We've talked at length on this show how effective he's looked on the power play down low, right? I don't even know that we got to go there again. He was so good. But I thought the evolution.
Yeah, third in points. You're right.
Like
47.
Did you think coming into the season that Anderson Dolan was going to be an impactful player on the power play? Even in the AHL?
I did.
You did.
Not to the extent, but I said with his grit and like the way that he was an offensive scorer in the OHL, I thought that he should get some either bumper roll or down low roll, but I didn't think he would be as good, not even close.
25
I thought he should get a nod.
25 points on the power play he had.
I thought he should at least get a nod.
And he did. And I was really, really impressed with him. So I would say if you're taking out, listen, maybe we're both wrong. I mean, I shouldn't say that. Martin Ferk, if it's not TJ Tynan, is the team's probably MVP. I think that's probably a reasonable shout. But I want to give plenty of love to Jared Anderson Dolan because I think he was the most improved player. And I think it's going to be really hard to keep him off the roster next year in Los Angeles. I really do.
I mean, they could have that fourth line could be quite nice. You put Jad on the wing with Grunstrom and Lizotte. They have a lot of jam. Both Jad and Grunstrom have some offensive ability, and Lazat's his number one scoring year. I think you could find somebody. Now, Lazat might have been his number one scoring year because Kaliev is, potting a lot of goals. But I have a feeling that when you have a line that all three are willing to throw, all three are good checkers, and all three have a little bit of offensive ability, that might not be a bad fourth line.
And your third line of, say, something like Byfield, Kapari, and Kaliev,
Yeah.
not bad. And
Not
free agent or trade acquisition, first line left wing. I'm going to always pump
Velarde, right wing one.
I'm always going to pump the tires for Velarde, but I don't know that it's going to happen. So, but yeah, I think there's a spot for Anderson Dolan on this team. And I think he can play a fourth line wing role. And again, another guy, because of his skill set and his hockey IQ, you need him to play top line minutes for a game because somebody got hurt. He can do it. You need him to play power play. He can do it. He played penalty kill in Ontario. He can play center. He can play the wing. Just a jack of all trades type of guy, and that's why I think he's a valuable asset to the team. Is he can play everywhere and play him well. So I think he's actually the most NHL ready of the guys in Ontario right now, personally.
He's got the most seasoning for sure.
Well, sure, and that listen, it's funny. I wrote the article that's.
He's got the most chicken parm on his wing for sure.
Yeah, he's got 50 NHL games under belt, so that probably helps that. But I don't know that everybody looks at it that way. I think, but I'm a big fan of Anderson Dolan's. So,
it'd be so crazy, and that if you had the crystal ball down the line like 5 years, obviously Byfield's gonna be part of the team. But what if it's all these second round picks that like make it?
Hey.
Right, you have Akil Thomas, who's a Swiss Army knife. Jared is Anderson Dolan.
Fagemo was second rounder, wasn't he?
Yeah, Fagimo's second rounder. You got Hellenius. Like you have all these guys that are gonna be, Francisco Pinelli, and no offense to the first picks, but like none of those guys make it. Like that'd be so weird. That would be disappointing from a pick standpoint because the Kings are usually. There's actually a great Athletic article on it about how well the Kings draft, but they fail to draft superstars. They draft a lot of guys that are role players. And they're even he doesn't have the same time and space that he has in the AHL. I mean, you see him in Ontario when he gets the puck. I mean, it's they respect him. The AHL player, the opponents, they give him that space because they don't want to be too over aggressive on him because he will burn you. And he's got an elite playmaking ability in the NHL. So I think he probably knows too, like when he gets called up, like he's not there to stay. So it's not as if he's being given a leash. So he's like just got a motor of I'm going to go as hard as I can. I need to just play well. I want to be defensively responsible. I don't want to make any mistakes. So my guesses would be when he gets that call to the NHL, he knows it's a short time. So he's just trying to not make mistakes, play his role, do his thing, whatever he's asked to do. Mind you, he's being asked to play a fourth line role when he usually gets called up. I wonder what it would be like if he were on a team that gave him the shot from the get-go and said, we're going to put you at second line center and off and run and see what happens. Put you in the power play. But I do think physically he wouldn't be able to handle it. Arizona. Sorry.
I don't think that physically he would be able to handle it. I mean, it's a big deal, and it's a lot faster than the AHL is. So I just think a lot of that stuff, we talk about the game slowing down for guys. It's clear in the AHL how much better he is than everybody, but he's one of those very unique guys. And there's been a handful. Like I look back at Rochester, there's this Dominic Pittis who used to just dominate the AHL and over 100 points a couple times, but he couldn't just. It didn't translate into the NHL. Things just went a little bit faster. Everything had to be done a little bit faster. And his role changed and it just didn't fit.
Yeah. His skill set, it allows him to be the playmaker. And so like how much power play opportunities a fourth liner going to get. He really came into his own in his 27, 28 years. So if there's a guy with a similar skill set, that's a prospect who's younger, they're going to get playing time. I think he's just in this weird limbo part age-wise and skill set-wise to where it's really like the Kings gave him a nod on that road trip by allowing him to get NHL money, because of the way his contract was negotiated. But it's just unfortunate. And not that I don't see Furk having an opportunity because he has an elite skill set with his shot, but Furk might be that same type of player to where eventually his age is going to bracket him out, and he might just be a career AHL dynamo.
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing, necessarily. I mean, for those guys, they obviously want to make the NHL on a more consistent basis, but there's nothing wrong with being an elite player at the next level.
It's still six figures.
Yeah, and you do see that though, right? Like you see that's the difference. Like how good some of these guys are in the AHL, and you're sitting here wondering, like, man, wow, how is this guy not in the NHL? It's getting a 100-point season. It's that much better, and it's just different.
Time,
different guys are going to
opportunity, skill set, team, all that stuff matters. And then you look in the NHL and exponentially how vastly the talent levels are, like how much greater Connor McDavid is versus even the next person in line.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Austin Matthews or Ovechkin or whoever you want to put at second is horrible, but you just see how much dominance he did in our series and what he did in that 9-6 game the other night. Like it's just a completely different level. And so like all those separate when you go down, and then like a team dynamics get into that whole thing where how much money am I paying this guy? What is the draft stock in this guy? Do I really want to bring up a fourth liner who is helping our AHL team when I can give some prospects some time? Like, I think he's just in a weird limbo area. And, if he makes six figures for the next 6 years, I mean, he's still going to be better off than most people. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's probably not a great answer, but it's got to be a mix of. I mean, because the size, I hate being the guy. Wow, he's too small. But I mean, I do think that is a factor, and in combo, whereas the NHL is that much faster. It's that much faster.
So let's kick it over to the next topic: future Kings. So in this topic, we are talking about guys that really could find a spot next year. How are they going to help the Kings roster? And we're also going to talk a little bit about future Reign players like Martin Chromiak and see how they're going to affect the Reign. I'm going to leave it up to my co-host on this one. Where do you want to start with this one? You want to pick a player and just kind of like dive into it and kind of let it free flow, or what?
And there's also that middle. So there's future Kings, there's future Reign, but then there's current Reign who could take that next step, right?
Okay.
So
let's start with future Reign. I think many people like what Martin Chromiak's doing, right? Shane Wright's line mate, just putting rockets in all year long. His point production has been great. I think it's going to be a different type of player because a guy that we might talk about later, Fagemo might be up with the big club, and they're going to need that elite scoring presence, especially if Ferk's not on the roster. And Martin Chromiak can be that guy.
Boy, it's hard not to be excited about what Chromiak can do. And I know he had a couple of games, last season, at the end of last season. Yeah. So he is checking all the boxes where he needs to right now. And I think he's probably going to be one of the more exciting players to come into camp and to probably be playing for the Reign next year. So really, really exciting. And I guess maybe a little bit of a wild card is the likes of and Russell mentioned this on our last show, and I don't know where this stands. If the agreement with the CHL and there's any shot that Brant Clark can play in the AHL, that would be fantastic. And, I know they were kind of current Reign, but they just got here. So I'm going to count them as future Reign. You look at Kim Nusayanen on the back end.
I was going to say that too.
Samuel Hellenius, Andre Lee, like these guys, let's see how they, assuming they stick with Ontario next season, I consider them still future Reign, really. So I think that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, Nusayanen would really impress me with his athletic ability and his skill set there. You have a dynamo and probably Spence being back on the Reign unless he, really takes that jump and earns that spot. Like there could be some good offense going on, and then Helge Grön's taking that leap. I think that you're looking at this team from a defensive standpoint, offensively, could be really good next season with a lot of these future Kings.
Yeah, no question. I think Nusayanen's got a pretty exciting future in the AHL.
With a lot of these forwards, though, I wonder where they're going to spot Hellenius, right? Because he was kind of spot starting here and there when everybody got healthy. Unless Turcotte blows people away in camp, you got to assume that he's center one. Kiel Thomas will probably center two, and then Hellenius center three with Sutter as the fourth. If I'm missing anybody.
No, I think I can see that. Obviously, it could depend. Where's Janderson Dolan? Is he going to be with the Reign, and if he is he going to be on the wing? I don't. Did you mention Tynan?
I mean, if they ask him back, right?
If he comes back, I think that's entirely possible that he still comes back. So yeah, it will be interesting to see where he slots in.
I think Hellenius just offers so much different in that team, to where, and we saw it in the World Championships, he had good offensive ability. He was partnered with other Kings prospect, Casper, Simon Tyval, and they were putting goals in left and right.
And a really good defensively responsible forward too. I'm excited to see a full season for Hellenius. Start fresh with the rain, right out of camp. I think that's going to be good for him. Yeah, I mean, Turcotte, I don't even care at this point. Like production, I just want him healthy. I just want him to have a healthy season. I that's all I got on him. I don't know. I mean, I feel for the kid. He took the bad hit in game 1, concussion, that Blake announced in his postseason presser. Like it sucks.
And he's had multiple.
Yeah, he's just been hit with.
Has it been multiple this season? Because I thought there were other injuries. So
there were.
He's just been getting peppered.
Yeah, and you feel for him. Hopefully he can take the summer and come back ready to rock next season. But it's been a rough going. So I don't care if he gets called up next year. I don't care what he does production wise. I just want a healthy season that you can evaluate. There's nothing to evaluate here for Turcotte.
Yeah,
like he shows what he brings. He's that bulldog. He works hard, gets in on a forecheck, all that stuff. But like, there's nothing an extended period of playing to really get a good feel for him. So it sucks. Hopefully he can come back healthy.
So let's go into rising stars, I guess, the guys that are going to take the next step. Who's your number one pick for that?
So I got 3 names for current Reign guys that are ready to excel and be the next. And Akil Thomas is one. He's perfect. My number one. The guy had 40 games, first 20 games, 0 goals,
garbage,
2 assists.
Yeah. Garbage.
Randon hated him. For the record, Akil, I had your back. Randon did not.
Hey, I've been telling everybody to buy Zale. Your
true,
clothing line is on point.
But the next 20 games, he has 8 goals, 3 assists, 11, and then he has 4 goals in 4 playoff games. He's back and he's ready. Yeah. And whatever was, he had the serious shoulder surgeries. I think he's back, and I think he is primed to have a monster season for the HL. I don't know that the expectation should be that he'll be with LA at any time next year, unless he has just a huge camp. Like, I don't know that. I think they let him marinate a little bit more, but yeah, he's going to be close. Big year out of him.
Swiss Army knife too. Like he's a more offensively gifted, like Blake Lizotte style player, to where he's got the offense, defense, 200 foot. Like he can play wing. Like he played defense in the OHL a little bit when they needed him. Like he's that good. And like I said, like I didn't hate him. Just wish I would have saw more. I wanted more flashes in the first 20 games. Yeah. And I just didn't wait long enough, because obviously I was wrong, because right after that podcast, he started throwing him in. So,
and then you look at it, the goal.
Thank you for listening to Kill and using me as bulletin board material. I appreciate it.
The goal he scored in game 2 to pull the Reign within 4. I mean, he's just lethal from between the dots.
Yeah.
Lethal from between the dots.
So good.
So I think the next guy I have is probably kind of an easy guy. Helge Grans. Like, I just think he had such a solid first. Let me rephrase that. He had a really solid first 73 quarters of the season. I feel like the down the stretch it wasn't quite as good. Maybe I'm a little off there. Maybe I'm being too harsh. But overall, really happy with Helge Grans' first season, and I think he has the potential to take a big jump next year. Maybe see some more power play time. Maybe be a guy that chips in offensively a little bit more. I think Helge Grans is an opportunity. And again, another guy, barring some catastrophic injuries like we saw this year, I don't think that you should expect him in the NHL. I think they're going to let him marinate, let him keep developing in Ontario, and I think that'll be good for him.
I'm going to tell you my dark horse.
I have one more. So who is yours?
My dark horse is David Krenick.
Oh,
I think he is goalie 1 for the Reign next season.
So I'm just going to say real quick, because I do want to. It's a good. Tyler Madden's my third one. I want to see him play more. He actually had a quietly fairly consistent season, I would say, for when he was in the lineup. I want to see him take the next step, be able to physically handle pressure a bit more, like pressure in the slot area, wall battles. I think that could be what holds him back from that next level. But quick release, dangerous in between the dots. But I think next year's a big year for Tyler Madden. Love the David Hrenek because I think, I don't know, like.
Well, here's my reason. Here's my reason why.
Yeah.
And my reason why for Villalta is not that he hasn't like shown excellence at some points in this season, because he has gotten vastly better from the previous season. But if you look at Hrenek's stats and you look at the way he's played and progressed throughout his entire career, like all 5 years in college, great. He's gotten, and then he's also gotten consistently better at the NCAA letter. If you look at Villalta's stats, like they've been up and down his whole career. I think that he's probably the most stable goalie. Maybe Lucas Perique might be a dark horse as well, but I don't think he goes straight from being a spot player on the reign to starting. I mean, you play the best player available, but they didn't send Hrenek to Greenville. They sent him straight to Ontario. He was the backup. If Garrett Sparks, which I don't maybe think Garrett Sparks was 100% healthy, but they maybe decided that he had to play. I think that Hrenek just has the more consistent career, and not to saying that your career in the past dictates the future, but just talking to him, like the way that his coaches talk about him and how he's consistently progressed, I think he can come into next season and really challenge for that number one job. It'll be Villalta's job to lose, but I think that he could take it.
I agree. I think it is Villalta's job to lose, but it's only a couple of games to go off of what we saw of Hrenek, but definitely a different style goalie than Villalta is. Villalta relies much more on his athleticism, where Hrenek, I think, is a little bit more technical. I think the job could definitely be taken. Matty V, like he had stretches of the season where he was so good, and then stretches where it just wasn't. And not for nothing, the first period against Colorado was bad in that first game. I mean, a goal from the red line. I know that's a fluke, and I get like that stuff happens. It's going to happen like once a season, I guess. Fluky goals, but like it wasn't good. And I think yes, this season overall was an improvement for Matt Villalta. I definitely buy that. And listen, big workload for him. Like he played a lot of games this year, more so than he's played, in prior seasons. So I do think that plays a factor too, that will help him, I think, going into next season. But this is why in that article, I predicted Garrett Sparks wouldn't be somebody that's re-signed. I don't think they need to have a veteran. I would much rather see them have these young kids, Villalta, Perique,
competition,
battle it out. I think Villalta has been here enough to where they don't need that quote unquote veteran guy. I think Villalta can be that guy, and if he's the starter, great. If he wins that job, great. But I think the healthy competition is good. Let me ask
you this question, because the NHL game is way different than the AHL game. If either Quick or Cal get injured next season, who would you feel more comfortable with being brought up? And my thing is David Hrenek, because the fact that he's more like structured in the net.
Yeah.
He's not relying on athleticism. He's not relying on his reaction time to catch shots or do this and that. Like he's going to know where the defense is. He's going to stand there. He's going to have good positioning, and he's going to rely on his defense to make plays. Obviously, like you said, a great amount of games in the net for Villalta. That could breed massive growth in the offseason when he's working with all the goalie coaches, because he's building off experience. But Hrenek's a 5-year starter or a goalie in the NCAA. He's got a lot of games too. So like, where does that, I'll let you answer the question. Where does that view for you?
I'm going to generally lean, and this is going to sound weird because Jonathan Quick's been the goalie for the Kings, and he's definitely a very athletic, right type of goaltender. I tend to lean toward that guy, like who is very technical and sound and quiet in the net. Like Hrenek is a bit more than Villalta is. I don't want to say Hrenek has 4 games in the AHL. We really haven't seen him get the chance to fail, like because he's gonna have a stretch where it doesn't look good. So, but I see your point, and I'm not going to disagree with it. That you'd feel a little bit more comfortable with that style of goaltender like a Hrenek. I won't disagree with that.
It's going to be interesting. And I think they should. They have to eventually push some of these kids up to that level.
Because Quick's got 1 year left. So who's next? Like,
because you have to make that decision. If there's nobody in the wings, you're going to have to get a veteran 1 year contract.
And you don't want to do that.
So, because then you're not paying a guy $800K to back you up. You're paying some guy 1.2 million.
Right. So, this is a big year for the prospect goalies in the system. This is for your Villaltas, your Hreneks, Pariks. Hopefully Ingram's healthy.
And I don't know if Joe agrees, but I've been saying they should take a stab at a goalie every single year until they get somebody that
I've been always the guy that's like, first round goalie, but I don't know. I'm okay if I'm wrong on that.
Well, Wheeler said there's no first round goalie this year or next year. That's what he said.
Okay, well,
so just take a stab in the draft. Like take a stab somewhere that they believe it. Yeah,
fine with me.
Yeah. Let's go future Kings, as in guys that we think we're going to make that next step onto the roster. And why do you think they're going to get to the roster? And what role will they fill?
I like it.
I'm going to go the first one. And we talked about it on the end of the season, and it's a clear one. But let's restate it because he had an awesome season. Samuel Fagemo.
Yep.
Right? Goal scorer.
Yep.
Our team sucks on the power play. So, like, can play the bumper. He can play the Ovechkin circle. He's not afraid to go mix it up. Like, I think that he is able to do that. And he made vast strides in the defensive game this season. Sean O'Brien, I know his last name's O'Brien. Sean O'Brien, right? From the Farmstead podcast there, said that his defensive game was one of the best on the team. And so, T-Mac likes his structure. And that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody's going to get special teams opportunities if they can't play in the structure. And I think that his defensive game has vastly improved this season. Well, he'll get that opportunity, and he could be on that dot. He could be in the bumper, and I think that he could make that role next season, and that would be my number one choice.
He wasn't my number one, but he's absolutely on this list that I have. And again, I have the article will probably come out this weekend, and he's one of the 4 guys that I have on the list. And for the reasons you just mentioned, I'm not even I don't have a whole lot more to add to that. I think you summed it up pretty good. He played the penalty kill too for the Reign. So another thing just to kind of file away. It's nice to see some of these skilled guys play the penalty kill. You don't always see that, but yeah, he's known for his shot. Period. And he's got a great one.
Shot. Yep.
And what you love to see is he wants the puck. And what I mean, like, you watch the games and you watch.
He's like Victor Arvidsson, the Swedes. Like, he'll shoot from anywhere. Like, he's like, yeah, just give it to me.
But
like, he's craving it.
He wants it. Yeah.
He's like that. What is that gif of Dave Chappelle and that I want more crack. Yeah. He's like, can you give me some more pucks? Like
he is. And, he's a guy that I think what I want to see, he's a player, and this is where I don't know, like, how does he adapt to the speed of the NHL level? That's my question. At the 5-on-5 level, how does he adapt when everything's going that much quicker? Can he still be as an effective player? That is the question, because we've seen some guys, it's going to take a little bit of time, right? Rasmus Kapari takes a little bit of time to get used to that. Arthur Kaliyev, it's taken a little bit of time, but he's done a great job in his role. So Fagemo, in a perfect world where it all clicks, he's a top 6 winger on the power play. Unit 1 or 2. Yeah. You could see the Kings ease him in. He could be a third line guy and play along by.
Give him the Kaliyev treatment. And
right. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that there's nothing wrong with that. It can still be very effective for a player. So, but fully agree. He's one of the guys on my list. If given the opportunity, we'll see.
I think fans kind of have it back here, like me too. Like, he looked pretty good next to Kopitar in the preseason, right? Like, people
Everybody goes back to that. Everybody goes back to that.
So I don't know where he was between 1 through 4 on your list. I don't want to give away your whole article, but bring up another guy.
Well, I think probably nobody's surprised that Anderson Dolan's going to be on there. I don't think we need to keep talking about him. He was actually number 1 on the list. The other 2 guys, one of them, Gabe Vilardi. Like, do you think he's traded? Do you think it seems to me, and I wrote in the piece that it just seems all the skills are there, the tools are there. I think his move to wing was very good. I think he's a different player, but it just seems there's something that's not meshing with him in the organization. I don't know if it's McClellan or just something's not clicking, and I don't know if that's me reading too much into things, but it feels like he may not be long for the organization. And if he's involved in a trade, he's involved in a trade. We're bringing somebody big back, whatever. But I love the player. I don't know.
So obviously I do podcasts for other sports. And so the thing with the Niners is Trey Lance, right? And so he's such a raw prospect, and like Kyle Shanahan is such a focused coach. But a lot of people are saying, is Kyle Shanahan so focused that he's not willing to adapt his coaching style? And when I bring that to Todd McClellan, like everybody talks about the structure and how it's good and how this and all this kind of stuff. Okay, yeah, is Velarde the best two-way center or wing or person ever? No, he's not. But is McClellan able to adapt his thought process to do what's beneficial for the team? Right? Because you look at, and now I'm going to bring this guy up, and a lot of people are going to like at me for it, but Kovalchuk, right? Led the team in goals, led the team in points outside of Kopitar when he in his season here, but didn't get playing time because of the fact that he couldn't play 5-on-5, but he was lethal on the power play because that was his best attribute. And so not that Velarde is as bad as Kovalchuk on defense, but I'm saying that you as a head coach should stomach the 5-on-5 if your power play and everything else is better and you get more offense than you do defense, because Kopitar can play defense and so can Kempe. So if he's the other winger on that line, like it's justified. And like I just don't think that there's any reason not to have him on this team. Now, is he long for this team? I mean, his agent could ask for a trade. Like, hey, he's not being used. He's getting up in years. He still has trade value. Trade him in whatever piece you want to get for whatever offseason acquisition. And he might be going to Chicago for DeBrincat or to Arizona. But I think that overall, his usage in the NHL is a little bit him. Like some of his stuff that he said, like face-offs don't really mean anything to me. You know, I'm a center right now, or whatever he was saying early on. And I think the other half is McClellan. Like McClellan needs to soften up on this 5-on-5 thing is the only thing that's necessary for this team, because our special teams were garbage. So like, where's the balance? Like head coaches got to adapt and the players got to progress in all facets of their game. Yep. Right. You see Kaliev advanced in the defensive aspect of his game, but McClellan didn't adapt until the playoffs where they used him as a bumper role. Like he was hit on the second power play and he's our best shooter on the team. And it's not even close. Like even though Kempe potted 35 goals, Kaliev's the best shooter on the team. Like why aren't you using him with his asset is the best there? Sorry, I went on like a 10-minute diatribe, but that's my opinion. Like I think with the best prospect pool in the NHL and a stern head coach like McClellan, there's a possibility that he hinders the development of these prospects because he needs trust and reliability 5-on-5, and he doesn't allow the players why they got drafted high was the player they were to act out their own game, right? Kachev could have been a 30-point player this season or 35-point if they put him on the third line and he was power play only. Like he could have done that based on his skill set. I
think, and this goes back to something that we talked about at the start of the season.
Sorry, I was just getting really rattled.
Nope.
Sorry.
I agree with a lot of it. And I think McClellan, though, and I wrote the piece that I thought he should have been up for Coach of the Year, and he wasn't, which is a shame.
Absurd.
Because I thought he did a hell of a job. Now, I think my theory here is between the post-season pressers last year from Doughty and Kopitar saying, hey, we got to go get help. It ain't good enough. To the offseason and Blake using the playoff word, McClellan had his marching orders. You make the playoffs. Like, this is a team that should now be, development is second. It's we have to make playoffs. Where I looked at this and we're like, man, this is a weird spot. Like, you have a bunch of big prospects that are not ready yet, but we haven't even given them a look to get ready. So if you give them that look and go full development, you're probably not making the playoffs, and you just burned a year of Kopitar and Doughty, who don't have that much left, and Quick for that matter. And you probably want to take one more kick at the can with those guys. So how do you balance this? You got to get these prospects ready to take over for the guys like Kopitar and Doughty versus you need to make the playoffs. So, and I wrote in the article that I think with Velarde, when he came back in the second half toward the end of the season, the playoff push was on. Like, in McClellan, and I don't blame him for this. He's got to go with what he trusts at that stage for me. And that's probably why he did it. Now, I will never be sold unless they practiced it and he was that bad. You can't tell me he wouldn't have helped the power play. I refuse to believe that. That said, again, McClellan was this close to making the playoffs. And you see that and you're like, if you don't trust the player at 5-on-5, I get it. Now I see what you're saying, like, man, but the special teams is like weighing us down. Like, if you even had what he could bring to the power play could offset any issues he has at 5-on-5. And you know what? I don't disagree with that. So we'll see if he gets a fair shake next year. I don't know.
It's like going to the same place to eat and ordering the same thing. That's horrible. Like, why would you do that?
Not for nothing, though. Like, I guess you don't want to write a player off that young, but the signs were there that he wasn't ready to play center. He didn't look good at center last
Every
year.
good player growing up plays center. That's what you do. Like,
I know,
until you get to the higher levels. And so people move.
But he struggled with it. And I think they started him as a center. In fairness, Byfield got hurt, so their hands were probably a little bit tied. But the move to wing in Ontario was exactly what he needed. I think he can play more freely and use his he's very gifted offensively, as gifted as anybody else in the organization. Let him play that way, and I think he can be a dynamite player. But
they need to give him 20 games on the first line next season.
I would
outside of them signing like a Dynamo to Brinkett or Forsberg, they need to give him 20 games.
But here's the thing: now pressure's on. You've made the playoffs; it's done. Now you take the next step.
So I get that. And your point was like, oh, we need to win another one for Kopitar. No, we don't. The LA Kings organization is not below two players that won 2 cups. I'm sorry.
But I think they probably see they still have Kopitar, Doughty playing
because Velarde's hands are nasty.
They are nasty. That Kopitar, Doughty, and these guys are still playing at high levels. Like, man, if you can, when you got Kopitar, Deneau, Byfield, and Lazat down the spine of your team, but if you can take one more shot at it, why not? I see what you're saying, but like, I also do kind of get it from the King standpoint. Like, you still got another good year or 2 left of Kopitar at a really high level. Let's try to.
Well, Velarde's got to earn it in camp. Like, if he comes in camp and he earns it in camp, like, give him 20 games.
It's a fine line with him.
James Matt coming in here. I know we talked about Chromiak already, but we'll go back over it. And Simon Tyval. Are they playing in the A next year? So Simon Tyval's unsigned. Let's go over his stats here. Obviously, the Finnish wonder here. We did a great, and I don't mean to pump our own tires, but I will. We did a great exposition on him in the World Juniors and his game. So go back through YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts and go check that out. But his stats this year for Kalpa in Liga, 33 games, 7 goals, 7 assists, 14 points. And then his World Juniors at the U20 level, 6 points in 7 games. I love Casper's game, and I hope they do sign him. And we'll see, right? Brown's contract's going off. Will they re-sign a lot of these guys? You only have room for so many contracts. And so, well, where will that fit in? Chromiak played, if I'm pulling this up, he played on I think it was a PTO for 2 games, but he did officially sign. So he's able to play. He had 86 points in 60 games. What a dynamo, 44 goals. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's the goal scorer for this team next year. So I think Chromiak's a lock to play for the A. Yep. Simon Tyval can play. I think he's good enough to play for this team. I think he'll add that net front presence that we talk about, because if you watch the World Juniors, a lot of his goals are right around the net, and then he's got a great release. I know he's a little bit shorter, as Wheeler said, but Scott Wheeler, shout out to him. Previous guest of the pod, wrote a great article on why Casper and Simon Tybalt is one of the unsung heroes of our prospect pool. If you have a sponsorship to The Athletic, please go and read that. But both these guys should be on the A. Chromiak, I think, is for sure. What do you think about Casper?
I echo what you're saying. I mean, we'll see what they decide to do with him and bring him. I would imagine they'll bring him and they'll sign him, but I guess we'll see. We'll see what they do if they deem that he's ready to come over.
Yeah, you're looking at he's already 20, so definitely of age there. He's been playing pro in Liga for Tapara and Kalpa for quite a while now. He's been playing Liga for over 4 years. So with men, so he's
time is now then.
Yeah, time is now for him to come over. I really like his game. I mean, nothing against Chromiak, but I just like the grittiness of Simon Tybalt a little bit. We do need those rocket scorers. So I hope both of them come over, but Simon Tybalt's my boy. Like I love Casper there. And then he's got that blonde hair that just shakes in the wind. Supreme lettuce. But yeah, I think they'll both be over here next season. Other future Kings. I think Brent Clark he's not a reign to advance, but Brent Clark is an option here. And he's the wild card, right? Yeah. Got injured late in the season. What is that injury going to do to him? Who knows? We don't know. But when you're a top 10 pick, if you're ready, you're ready. And I think he'll at least get 9 games to see whether it's on the roster, whether it's on the roster just practicing, like to see whether he's around or whatever. He'll at least get 9 games, and then he'll force Rob Blake to make a decision. And that's what you want. You want that from Brant Clark.
He is the wild card. You said it perfectly, because if he comes into camp and looks the part, he's not going back to junior, and he shouldn't. And that creates, maybe the hand will be tipped if there is a trade that happens before that. But again, like we said, I expect Spence to start in Ontario. So the right side already has Doughty. It's already got Matt Roy. And then sounds like Matt Walker's planned to be in Los Angeles. What did I say? Matt Walker? Sorry, yeah. Sean Walker.
If we can mold both those guys together.
Right. That's what I was trying to do. So it's a wild card, because don't forget Sean Dursey made a big impact. Don't be surprised if he starts in Ontario next year either. But a lot of that hinges on Brant Clark if he's ready. And again, I haven't watched a lot of him at all, so it's hard for me to say with any sort of certainty. But from what you read about him and with the numbers he's put up, if he's ready, he's going to play, is my opinion. So we'll see. I mean, if he doesn't, well,
he's the power play dynamo, man. Like, he's so good. And I don't know how his season ended up, but midway through the season, he was on pace to have the 3rd best OHL season by defenseman of all time. So definitely a top-notch prospect.
I find it really hard to believe that he's going to go back to junior.
Yeah. And I brought it up in our end of season stuff for the Kings. I don't know the leagues and everything like that, but if at worst he should be loaned to some European team, whether it's I don't
know the rules around that either. So
yeah, so I mean, if he can, and if he can't go to the A, because I know they're working on that. I know the NHL's like, okay, some of these 1st-round picks should have leeway to move earlier. Maybe make it 19 instead of 20. But if they can ship him off to Liga or Sweden or Berlin or whoever, and he can't play for the NHL and he's getting higher end competition, they need to try that, because he just dominated his age group. Yeah.
Yep.
Last one for you, my man. Who do you think is going to make that jump?
Come on. You know where I'm going with this. Jacob Moverari.
Oh, yeah. I was leaving your little shirt tap, your stick tap for the last one, man.
The left side is still a question, man, right? I mean, you have Mikey Anderson. We don't know if
Bjornfoot did not take that next step.
No. Nope. I think he's still a question mark. I think Russell makes a really good point, and we talked about this before. I think he's still a valuable trade piece, because he's got NHL experience. He's still so young that he could still be attractive to a team in a trade.
I still think he has close to late 1st-round value, early 2nd value.
Yeah, maybe not the centerpiece of a trade, but like a piece in a trade that a team could take a flyer on. So you don't know the veterans, Mata and Edler. I'm not expecting them back. So that leaves Mikey Anderson. And who else? I assume they're going to address this, right? This is
What is his nickname? It's been bothering me all podcast, and I've been trying to come up with it so I can just spurt it out. Because didn't he buy a car? There was an interview where he had trying to buy a car, and he was like he couldn't pronounce the name of it, and I can't remember what it was.
Brett Sutter had talked about it, and I forget what it was. I forget too. But
anyways, go ahead. Sorry, that was bothering me.
I've likened him to a left-handed, left shot D Matt Roy, this quiet, under the radar, good stick, physical when he needs to be, calm under pressure, makes a first pass. His game in Sixton Funquist, when he had it on the show, like if you could pick up his game from the AHL, drop it in the NHL, and he'd be the same player. And that's exactly right. Like his skill set, he's not going to be a top pair defenseman. He may not be a second pair defenseman, but he's like a solid third pair, puck moving, great in the D zone type of D man that I really, really like. And I think even if the Kings do address the left side and decide to bring in a big piece, like I still think he could slot in as your third pair lefty. I really do. Or maybe
I do too.
Or maybe be around as a seventh D man. Like they kept him around. Like he was there in playoffs. So I just really, really like his game. He's polished, is the word I would use. He's not going to wow you, but he's polished. And I think the way he moves the puck, and the Kings like to strike off the rush. The Kings are a team that can score off the rush. You could see him pick up. He could surprisingly get 20 assists, right? Because of just being able to move that first pass, move the puck. Like you saw the play he made against Pittsburgh. He gets the puck. There's pressure coming at him. Doesn't panic. As he's going backwards, fires a dart cross ice or all the way to the far blue line. Hits Trevor Moore in stride, goal. Like that's he's calm under the pressure, calm with the puck. Like I really like his game. So I think he can play a role for this team as a third pair D.
I was letting you have that one. Well done. I agree too. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was LD2 next season. Just like he's just that calm and collected. And
I just think they're going to bring. I think somebody comes in though, right? I think. Or
they let Bjornfoot box it out, but they don't have. If they're going to go for a high score and they're going to pay Kempe and all these other people and Mikey Anderson, who I just put a YouTube video clip from our end of season. So if you just want to watch that 3-minute clip, go ahead and watch that. Get an extension. There might not be enough money, and you're gonna have to rely on Bjornfoot and
Chikrin's only $5 million.
Oh yeah, you get the Chikrin train again. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, but that'll do it for us here at Make It Rain. Hour and 17 minutes going on here. Joe and I could talk forever about hypotheticals or about chicken wings, either one.
That too.
So by the way, I never said what I like ranch or blue cheese. I prefer ranch. But I don't mind doing a little double dipping, like going back and forth. It doesn't. I know I'm a psychopath that way, but it works for me.
It's crazy. I have no idea what planet you're from.
I know. I don't either. I was dropped off here. I have no idea. So you can find us at hockeyroyalty.com. All new articles coming out. Joe's coming out with the guys what we talked about tonight, but in depth in his article coming out soon. We have guys who are about to be re-signed, UFAs, RFAs that just came out. Other little articles here and there at hockeyroyalty.com. Don't be afraid to go get your merch. Be the first one to the plan with the merch, guys. Go ahead and wear that stuff on the website there. You can find Joe at JW Paterino on Twitter. I'm at Rando Commando 24. Thank you, as always, to our network as the Hockey Podcast Network and our sponsors, DraftKings, promo code THPN. This episode was lethal, man. Like a snake bite in the desert.
There it is. Now the off season's here. There's no more games to break down, no more series, and we'll see what happens.
Well, we will be breaking down stuff because we do got that first round pick. We got a couple mock drafts already coming out from other entities. We're going to be breaking down those players. Hopefully I can be technologically savvy so you can watch on YouTube as we break down the video live. Hopefully I can afford the video to break down live. We'll see how that works out. But as always, Joe, pleasure, my man.
Always take it easy.
All right. Go Kings, go Rain, Rain Train, bang, bang, not a gang. I don't know what I'm saying.